you have covered the price topic, I would like to ask you, so on top of this, what you have just mentioned, what are your predictions or thoughts about what could happen before and after the halving in terms of
so the halving is a very interesting topic because every I've now experienced, this will be my third halving, and every time what happens is a lot of excitement just before and then nothing happens. And I expect that's what's going to happen now. We're going to have a lot of articles and a lot of podcasts and a lot of conversation about what's going to happen for the halving. I think nothing much. Right now, if we look at the Bitcoin halving, I think we're going to see the most inefficient miners are going to turn off their equipment and switch off, and we're going to see a drop in hash rate. Now, that's not going to happen immediately. And the reason it's not going to happen immediately is, one, because many of them have already switched off because they already were too inefficient to mine at the current prices. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, when we had the big drop in price, a lot of the miners switched off then. I think at the halving, the miners who are still mining at that point are the types of miners who either are profitable or have long-term contracts. So if they have long-term contracts for electricity, then they won't switch off. They're going to basically continue to mine even at a small loss, anticipating a rise in price or a change in the conditions that will make them more competitive, hoping that other people drop out first. So I do expect we're going to see a reduction in the hash rate, but not a huge reduction in the hash rate. And I think nothing much is going to happen. It's going to pass. And then 2 to 3 months later, when people realize nothing happened, Bitcoin's still working, it's robust, maybe the difficulty adjusts down a couple of times, then we're going to start seeing the impact of the reduction in supply. Because the halving, the main thing it does is it causes a reduction in the supply of Bitcoin in the markets, and that puts a lot of pressure on buyers to increase their bid price. So I do expect that's going to have pressure on the price. Here's the thing we're not talking about, Catalina. You didn't ask me about this, but I'm going to drop it in there because I think this is a much more interesting conversation. Bitcoin Cash had its halving already. And I think Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is also due for a halving now, early. And the reason they're early is because they've mined more blocks, especially Bitcoin Cash. So with Bitcoin Cash, what happened was, because of the implementation of a different difficulty adjustment algorithm called the emergency difficulty adjustment algorithm, because of fluctuations in the hash rate in the past, Bitcoin Cash actually mined a lot more blocks, especially right after the fork when the difficulty was adjusting very rapidly. Because it mined a lot more blocks, it arrived at 660,000 blocks before Bitcoin, or sorry, 630,000 blocks before Bitcoin. So as a result, it's already had its halving. Now, here's an interesting thing. If you have 3 coins that are relatively big, more than nothing, right? Like Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, and you have a halving in one of them, but not the others, then the miners who are unprofitable, because the algorithm they're using is the same as the other chains, can simply switch to the other chains that are more profitable and mine there. With Bitcoin Cash, this has caused a very, very big drop in the hash rate. And at the moment, the majority of mining is being done by a single miner, Bitcoin.com. And they have more than 60% of the hash rate, I believe, now. That's at least an estimate. We can't be sure, of course. So the very interesting things are happening with Bitcoin Cash because of the half. I expect we're going to see similar issues with Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, because if you have the same hashing algorithm as another chain, that gives miners the opportunity to switch chains. Now think about what happens when Bitcoin does its halving. Well, when Bitcoin does its halving, there is no bigger, more profitable chain to move to. So miners who are unprofitable at the Bitcoin halving, who are mining Bitcoin, they have two choices: mine at a lower profit or no profit, or turn off your equipment. Whereas miners on Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision have three choices: keep mining without profit, turn off your equipment, or move to mine the other coin. That's a choice that they don't have when they're on Bitcoin. And this creates a very interesting dynamic. I think we're going to see some very, very big moves in the hash rate of Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, and it could have very dramatic effects on the price and the security levels of those forks vis-a-vis Bitcoin, where Bitcoin miners don't really have a bigger coin to move to.